If this is your first time here, welcome. John and I are screenwriters in the film industry that isn't exactly booming at the moment. So we're spending our time making silly little YouTube videos that at least 1,000 or so people have caught on to. And so every once in a while we'll jump in with an episode just kind of interacting with the audience to try and, talk about new updates or anything that's happened in the space or any material related to some of the videos that we've talked about. And today we're going to talk about Guillermo del Toro's take on Frankenstein. And so we both got the chance to watch it. I will again reiterate, not in theaters because the Midwest just didn't have any offerings. But I got to watch it in the comfort of my own home, which was pretty good. But I do feel like I probably missed out on some things. What about you, John?
Yes. Before we get into it, I want to make very clear that we are not just a Frankenstein channel. But we are, there's a more eloquent way of putting this, but we are milking this for all that it's worth, because our Frankenstein video did very well, and I was like, you know what, let's ride this wave. Let's do a quick review. I don't know how often we're going to do these reviews, but I was like, you know what, that video did very well. We could probably still milk this, and we are. But I was thinking that, I hit my microphone, sorry. I was thinking that maybe once a year that we do a Frankenstein movie. I really want to check out that Toho one with the giant Frankenstein fighting the giant kaiju. But for now, this will be our last Frankenstein video for a hot minute.
It's a promise.
We don't just want to... Yes.
Handshake promise. Hang on. Everybody put their hands up in a handshaking moment. Handshake.
Yep.
Promise. We're not
doing
gonna...
the motions.
This is the last one. This is the last one for a while.
This is the last one for a hot minute. We have other stuff planned. Okay, I knew I was going to love this movie, and I did. That's I have a lot of pros and I have one con. We can get to that later, but what did you think?
I didn't think I was going to like this movie.
Really?
And I really did. Just I guess for context, so I had seen probably the more like universal take on Frankenstein until we decided that we were going to record the video about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. I'd never seen like that interpretation, although I knew that there were some nuances that kind of got cut out for the fact of just not being as interesting as the crazy monster that's running around attacking the villagers. But I never really had recognized like the original novel rendition of it, and so I also frankly have not been a huge Guillermo del Toro fan.
What?
Yeah, I know, it's kind of crazy. The Shape of Water kind of just like threw me off a little bit, and I still need to catch up on Pan's Labyrinth. All I know is that the guy the really scary creature that has like the eyeball hands thing, that's literally the only thing I know about Pan's Labyrinth. So I've got some homework to do. But from what I saw in Shape of Water, I was just really not feeling the vibe. I just didn't really love the style. And then I just never got another chance to kind of look back and catch up on other stuff. And so coming into this, I just didn't really know what to expect. But I just knew that the cast was really solid. Oscar Isaac, Jacob Elordi. And to be honest, blown away. Like... really blown away. And we'll alert you before we get into like, I guess 100+ year old spoiler territory, but yeah, I have a lot of good things to say about this movie. I really enjoyed it, and thought that it was just a beautiful rendition, especially now knowing what I know about like the historical take on Frankenstein. So I really enjoyed it.
Sorry, I was watching our subscriber count go from 425 to 0 after you said you don't like Guillermo del Toro movies. But I'm leaving it in.
Okay.
Don't worry. Don't worry, I'm leaving it in. I am a big... as you can see, I have 4 pages of notes. I won't get into all of them. My main note was that I was worried watching this after we did that. For that Frankenstein video, I spent like a month ingesting Frankenstein media, and... I was like, okay, we're just going to do another adaptation of the book. It's going to be very faithful. And I felt like I just watched that, so I wasn't looking forward to watching this 2.5-hour movie. That is just another adaptation, like another faithful adaptation, which I thought it was going to be from the trailers. It's not. There is a lot from the book, but all the changes are very welcome. I love so much about the changes. No changes annoyed me. Like, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this makes sense. This is a good take. Like, Elizabeth being his brother's fiance, and Henry, his brother, not being a child. That was also, like, I've seen that. I've seen,
Right.
like, all of that. And Christoph Waltz's character, I believe, is completely new, and he was great.
Yeah, I think he kind of filled that gap. The role that John Cleese played in the Mary Shelley version, I'm going to do a lot of comparison. He filled that gap between that character, and then also the weird thing was, I guess, it was his name Hans. We can cut the.
It was
Who was the friend?
I think it was Henry Clerval.
Yeah, Henry Clerval's character. So essentially, Christoph Waltz and the brother kind of took those roles on, but it was just different, like a departure from the actual like take of what it should have been from the Mary Shelley perspective. But I really liked what both of those characters played in this rendition of it, and so I think really liked Christoph Waltz as kind of the one with the nefarious like plot, so to speak. And even though it wasn't that nefarious, he just, did his things, which we'll talk about in a minute. But I just really liked his character. I thought he played it very well and very slow burn, which was kind of unique. And then the brother was pretty decent and was kind of more of a sounding board, it seemed like, which was kind of helpful for the plot development. But and then Elizabeth's character was in my opinion, much more involved, like in the actual, much more involved in the actual creation of the monster and like or the creature, and the inspiration of like why it mattered. I think than in the other rendition, because in the other rendition it's more like, oh my gosh, you've created this horrible thing, you should have never done that. And like in this rendition, it's like the beauty of life is kind of like what she brings to the table to show, oh my gosh, you've created this beautiful thing, but you've been immensely cruel in the same vein. So that's as far as I'll dance down the path until we want to jump into like specifics. But the other thing I can say is the practical set pieces, like the ship being a real ship.
Oh,
beautiful. My gosh. And like
beautiful.
I know, like, his CGI, at least from Pinocchio and Nightmare Alley and Shape of Water, sometimes can pull me out of it a little bit, just because of like the coloring and like those sort of things sometimes throw me off. And again, I'll go back and give those a fair shake again now that my brain has fully developed. But now
that I have a frontal lobe,
now that I have a completed frontal lobe. But I think, like, generally speaking, I was just in love with like the saturation. Like the colors were really, really beautiful. The green elements were awesome. The practical set effects, like it made the scale of the movie feel so much. It made the scale honestly feel like a blockbuster movie, like with the care of knowing that it mattered to not just like throw in a CGI ship. And it was just really cool to watch that.
Yes. I think we should just hop into... I don't want to keep tiptoeing around. This is a 100-year-old book. It's on Netflix. Let's just hop straight into spoilers.
Spoilers from 100 years ago. Alert warning.
My first note is the brutal opening. I love the way Guillermo del Toro shoots violence. It's not like a heightened... I'm talking specifically about the guy that gets bent backwards at the start.
That was nuts.
It's not... There's a similar scene in Nightmare Alley with a gunshot, and a very infamous scene in Pan's Labyrinth where someone's fucking face gets knocked in. But his approach to violence is very blunt. Like, it's very matter-of-fact and blunt.
Yep.
You can see that throughout this quite a bit. When Christoph Waltz's character falls... and you just see the back of his fucking head is just gone.
Yeah, it was incredible. And then, like, I guess this is something that I probably need to go back and appreciate about his other films too. It's like very much cause and effect. Like in some of these other like movies when or directors like sometimes will shoot action and it'll be like, hey, I just got punched in the face, but it's okay, like I'm still standing and I'm gonna punch back kind of thing. And when you're coming against this insurmountable creature with just so much more strength than you, it's like getting hit by a Mack truck, and you can feel that. Like you can feel that in the opening sequence of just like when he hits you, you're screwed. You're not getting back up.
Yeah, the bluntness is very felt. Like you can feel it. It's very blunt. I can't think of another word for that. And then next, I want to mention that this is the second movie I've seen where Mia Goth is in heavy prosthetics and also playing another character. She plays Frankenstein's mother for those brief scenes. She's under the heavy prosthetics, which I didn't catch at first, and then I looked at the Wikipedia. I was like, oh, okay, that's clever. I like that. And then, trust me, I'm not just going to go through my notes and make you listen, but I have an exclamation points. Color is back. It's very nice to see color in movies.
Yeah.
Outside of this recording, I've talked your ear off about how digital films don't have much color. Like, there's a tinge of gray that I fucking hate.
Yeah.
This isn't as colorful as the Kenneth Branagh film, but this is more colorful than 90% of the things I see, which is very refreshing.
Yep.
And this really would have benefited from a full theater run.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm a whore, or I'm a slut. Whore is too aggressive. I'm a slut for wide landscape shots in the snow, and this did not disappoint.
No, I mean,
this did not disappoint.
The openness of some of the scenes, like in the wide shots, like you know where you're going in like a very classic sense of just look at this massive tower, look at this massive boat, look at these open scapes, and it was just, you could tell he really cared to show off where you are, so you know the vibe of what you're about to walk into. And it was just really cool because even the estate, like the opening scene when Mia Goth, dressed up as Frankenstein's mom, is just standing there, and she's dressed in red, and she's juxtaposed by all of the people in either black or white, standing there. And it was just like very powerful, I think, to just kind of see that red. And then also later in the film to see, you know, she's in a red dress then, and then her other character being Elizabeth, when she meets her demise, her dress is also stained in red. And like, I think that those like parallels are really cool to know that like the women in Frankenstein's life are, you know, unfortunately brought to a short end when they could have had such a beautiful life. And it's just highlighted so well in those colors and those moments. And yeah, I loved the scale, loved the colors. I feel like every scene was really, really intentional. And I know that sounds weird in a 2.5 hour movie, but there were just small things like, when the creature is inside of the well of the basement, and Mia Goth's character Elizabeth comes down and meets for the first time, and you can see her stick out her finger and he sticks out his finger, and it's just kind of like almost like a Sistine Chapel painting-esque like shot. You know that he thought of that. Like, he thought of, this is the angel and the creature is man trying to reach, you know, benevolence or something like that. And so it's just the little things like that that I really, really appreciated, where you could just see the care. And then the slowness. There was no, in those scenes where it wasn't like super action heavy, you could see that he took the care to know, we don't need to rush through the motions here. Nobody needs to be frantic. And it felt that way. And then in those scenes where things were ramping up, and, you know, Oscar Isaac's character is running through like a madman that he is, you can feel that, like, in the body language and the motions that he's making. And that just goes to speak to the volumes of not only the cinematography and the direction, but also the cast just really doing a magnificent job of recognizing that this could be word vomit salad of like a bunch of like old-timey language, but they do such a good job of following it up with the actual body action to show what the scene actually feels like. I really appreciated that too.
Yeah, going back to your about Elizabeth reaching out to the creature, and I just googled this because I forgot the fucking name, but it's very reminiscent of the Creation of Adam painting. You know the one where they're it's on the
reaching for each
Sistine
other. Chapel.
Yes. I was like, what's the name of this? And I looked it up. I agree. I mean, I agree with everything you've said. You put it very, very nice. I put a list of notes in one sentence. What I have is, going back, that's a sick coffin that she gets buried in. That's a sick coffin, and I bet you it's accurate. I haven't looked that up, but I bet you that's an accurate coffin. The young Frankenstein, I like him very much as an actor. He played the twins in The Monkey. Did you see The Monkey? It's very... Oh, you hate those kinds of movies. Those are your Final Destination movies.
Yeah, not...
Your Rube Goldberg movies.
Yes, Rube Goldberg, Death Machine, not my fave, but I respect it.
Yeah, he was great in this, even though he had very little runtime. I noticed there's a hatred of his father in this adaptation, which I didn't get from the book.
Yeah.
And kind of they didn't really touch on it much, but there is one scene near the beginning where there is kind of a resentment towards his brother, Victor's resentment towards his brother.
Jealousy.
Because, I mean, jealousy and, the birth of his brother was the death of his mom. There's a theme of maternal loss in this that I've noticed. I mean, I might just be making that up.
No,
but
I think that's super present, yeah.
And then the Dark Angel that he continuously sees, that's classic Guillermo del Toro, which I was very happy to see. Very happy to have that pop up throughout, especially when it rips its mask off.
Yeah.
Excellent. I do have in big letters, and I will expand upon this later. This is the largest thing that I wrote down is, fuck Victor Frankenstein. All my homies hate Victor Frankenstein. Which is right after my note that says, it's refreshing to see Victor be nice to the monster when he's initially created. And then immediately, this is accurate to the novel, but Victor is such a fucking asshole in this adaptation. I would have done, if I was the monster, I would have done the exact same thing.
Yeah, I 100%
At no point was I like, you know what? Monster took it too far. No, he didn't.
Yeah.
Which was also refreshing. There wasn't like, big dumb creature accidentally kills something because it doesn't understand.
Right.
That wasn't present throughout this. The kills from this are mainly defensive. Like, they're all defensive kills. I'm thinking specifically about in the barn after Filch,
yes,
who plays the blind old man, is killed, and then the villagers come and shoot at him, and he rips that guy's fucking jaw off.
That was
that
sick.
guy stabbed him. He stabbed him. I've also found something that triggers me. And I know there's CGI, and it's also why I didn't like Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, is any kind of animal cruelty I have to look away from. And I know they're all CGI. But when he's fucking destroying those wolves, I did not like it. I get it, and it was very well done. And I know, again, that they're all CGI creatures, but any kind of animal cruelty I find very triggering. And I found that out about myself last night. And then, let me see. I also put as an aside, I'm unfortunately 1,000% straight, but I would let long hair Oscar Isaac absolutely wreck me.
And not to mention in this rendition, they also give you like buttocks, like they give you the full butt situation for Oscar Isaac. And then at one point it's looking like you're going to get to see his Frankenstein, if you know what I mean.
I do. I want to see Frankenhog. Specifically long hair Oscar Isaac in that green silk robe, which I couldn't stop staring at. It looks like the comfiest robe ever.
Yeah.
This is my professional film analysis. Let me see what other fun notes, because I just kept writing. Chekhov's big hole. Good payoff.
That was
for the big hole.
I mean, that was like, the second I saw that, I was like, is anyone going... This is sort of similar in my mind to the fucking staircase in the 90s Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It was like the staircase. I was like, this fucking hole is just... And it was like massive. It was just massive. And I guess like, I don't know what the intent was there other than for someone to inevitably fall down it. And then I even saw in like the montage scene where they're getting like the tower up and ready and the brothers up there like helping out. and like getting everything put together so that they can create the creature. Like I just saw like those guys walking around it. I was like, guys, are you not gonna fucking put a board or something over that hole? I was just like, what are we doing? And you're just getting all this heavy machinery up, and then like, oh yeah, we're gonna put this together. Hopefully nothing goes wrong and you don't fall backwards because you're gonna slide down this fucking death gap.
Yeah, the second it popped up, I was like, oh yeah, that big hole. Somebody's gonna fall in that big hole. That big hole is there for a reason.
Dude.
Chekhov's big hole.
And then to see Christoph Waltz, his character, fall down, and then, like you mentioned earlier, the skull crack was crazy. Then also kind of, I guess, like a hint of things to come in some ways, but just to show how fucking evil and like cruel Victor Frankenstein's character is like, he dies, and like there's a moment of like, oh no, like he's dead, and he like picks up his lifeless body and sees like this stuff like ooze out of his head. Then he just leaves him there, and then he goes right back to what he's doing. And so it just kind of like emphasized he has a goal set, or a goal mindset of like, my goal is to create this creature. And then even I think the voiceover after the creature's been created is he's like, that didn't like satisfy me. And it's like the constant quest for more in the beginning of that was just really interesting to me. And I know obviously like he had a bunch of tragic shit happen and all of that, but I did appreciate that there was a small moment in time where he was initially kind to the creature, and like his first, I guess, words to the creature after he gets awoken out of bed by Jacob Elordi in blue, he basically is like, oh, sun, like looking at the sun, and they're like embracing the sun together, and the symbolism there was neat. I still don't quite, and maybe you can help me kind of illuminate this, I still don't quite understand why he started treating the monster so cruelly. I guess it's because the intellect didn't improve, like it wasn't human enough for him. Do you think that was like the motivation?
Yeah, I didn't realize this until you were talking just there, but a con I have about this movie is that it kind of just switches on a dime. Like, he is so kind to the creature when it's first created, and then basically the next scene, he becomes awful. He turns into his father that he hated so much in the beginning of the film.
Which I get that, like, I get that symbolism for sure. I think that for me was a little bit of like a really quick transition, because it's like he's holding, I don't know if it's like a shard of something like glass or metal or something like that. The creature squeezes it and it makes him bleed, and then he touches Victor, and Victor's like, don't touch me, please. So
yeah,
maybe,
he switches immediately.
But do we think that maybe it's some sort of symbolism that he's like afraid of blood because of his mom, or I don't know. It was just like it didn't feel super like convincing. And then he was just like maybe expecting more from it, I guess is the gist, that he was like, oh yeah, this is supposed to be a human creature, and all that it can say is Victor, Victor.
It was very abrupt, and again, talking about it right now, I'm thinking back on how abrupt it was, because my note is, refreshing to see Victor being nice to the monster. This will make it all the more heartbreaking when everything goes to shit. And then the very next scene is the glass cutting scene, and he immediately becomes the biggest fucking dick.
Yeah.
And I put down Victor turns into his father, which I already mentioned. This does come back to my old point about there being maternal love. Initially, the monster is deprived of it, and then he meets Elizabeth. The monster meets Elizabeth. And there's oddly I don't want to get too into it, but there is some kind of Oedipus situation throughout the film.
Yeah, it's very interesting in that way.
When Elizabeth meets the monster, the scene is almost sensual, which I wasn't expecting. Like, when they're initially reaching towards each other, I got some sensual undertones, which I wasn't expecting. And then there was one more thing. Oh, do you have anything more to say on that aspect?
I think the only thing I can add is, like, it was a really interesting stylistic / story choice to have Elizabeth be engaged to the brother, interested in some capacity in Victor, and also I did definitely get some of those weird sensual undertones, especially with like the gloves getting taken off, and like also like I noticed something in this one that was a little different, like a departure, I would say, from normal Frankenstein, like this sort of Frankenstein material, which was the creature didn't ask for at the end bride. He asked for a companion. And so that was kind of, I guess, alluding to like he doesn't actually want like a bride, he wants a companion. But I do totally get what you're saying, because I think that the jealousy maybe like transcends through the multiple layers. Like he's jealous of his brother because his brother gets the attention from his father, but also his brother took the life of his mom, and his mom was the only person that it seemed like he was like truly close to and cared for or cared by. And so I'm sure there's some sort of like Oedipus-esque process there. And then when Elizabeth's character comes in, the same sort of thing happens where the monster takes her away from him, you know? And so but kind of not really. Like it was like that part was a little muddied to me. I get the point, but it felt like that wasn't like as clear of motivation. But I get like the gist of, oh, he's jealous because this is the same thing that happened with his brother. Is his brother took his mom away from him, basically.
Yes. Oh, that's a good reading. I like that. I will say I think all the changes made from the original source material, Elizabeth benefits the most from them, because I feel like her place in the novel is to be Victor's love that's just waiting for him, and then just fucking dies in a brutal fashion. Right. I like that her death isn't caused by the creature in this. All of the creature's kills are defensive. The cruelty of the monster killing Elizabeth in the book, I like that this turned it on its head and Victor accidentally killed her. That's very good to me. I think her character is much better in this than any other adaptation that I've seen.
I would agree. And it gives her more justice too. Like she's not just like, I think the fact that she doesn't like go all the way with Victor, even though it feels like odd, gives her more dignity, because not that it would have mattered either way, but I think that it gives her story more dignity, because she's like, hey, I agree with you. I like you as a person. We probably have some similar worldviews, but I also recognize the promises that I've made. And she never betrays those promises, and also has like a good moral compass from the jump, which I think is really nice to see. And like even when she's confronted with the creature in that first scene, like her immediate mode isn't freak out, run away, what have you done, Victor, you're a monster. She's like, oh my gosh, look at how beautiful this creature is. Oh my gosh, this creature's hurt. Who could have hurt him? It was Victor, and Victor's a piece of shit. And it's like, it was just really nice to see her kind of in the driver's seat in this version of it, where she has the dignity to be the one that's kind of moving the plot forward, as opposed to he disregards it or the creature goes and starts killing people. Like she was the thing that kind of moved it along, and so that was nice to see.
Yeah. Do you mind if I get super nerdy for a second?
Please. That's what this is for.
In the 90s, this is going to be about comic books.
Okay.
Just letting everyone know. There's a term coined by Gail Simone, I believe, in reference to a Green Lantern comic where the love interest is killed and gets shoved into a fridge. It's called fridging, and it's where a female character exists in like a form of media just to die, just to motivate the protagonist, who is usually a male. And this feels like the original Elizabeth feels like one of the first versions of fridging. This has been my nerd moment.
I think that's cool. I think that's a cool reference. I don't think I would want to be stuffed into a fridge. Just put me in a trash can where I belong after I'm gone. But I think I do think that that's actually a really good way to put it. Like I think that it's not the motivation; it's the motivation for the creature to say, to finally that's the final straw that breaks the camel's back for him to go after Victor in that manner, but it's not the main motivation. I also, just to kind of go back to so obviously, he goes and burns down the tower, and then the creature ends up on its own. And I really think that there were really a couple scenes in there that I just really wanted to highlight. The first initial scene where he's out on his own in the forest. And I think that this was really cool too. I think normally in these adaptations, the creature doesn't necessarily go directly to violence, but even in this one, like, I don't think I've ever seen it pushed as far as to like show them as a caring creature, like something that's innately like kind. And so in that initial scene where they're in the forest and the deer comes up and they're like eating together and there's feeding, and then for him to get smacked in the face with like the brutal reality of the world, that the world is the same as it was inside of that chamber. People are afraid of you. You're not like us. And then also innocent creature like the creature just gets killed for no reason other than, for feed or game or whatever that is. And that's just the way that the world works. I think it was a really like great way to show that even outside of this horrible situation where he was kept as a prisoner and treated and, abused, the world still is not kind. And so I think that was a good reminder. And then when they go to the farm, I think that the farm take this time around, I know back in the 90s movie, there's like, I didn't love the farm take. I thought it was interesting, but it wasn't like my favorite. I loved it this time, where, they take Guillermo del Toro took the time to go through and show him developing, him learning how to speak, him doing these kind deeds for that family, and then building an actual relationship outside of the core cast with the blind hermit grandpa. I thought that made it all the more devastating when the wolves come and kill, Filch's character, for lack of a better term, and then also for when those hunters come back and he has to fight them off. Like, it was much more impactful this time for me, because before it was more like, oh, they see him, they get scared, they run away. In this one, it's like right place, wrong time, misunderstanding. And I really liked that rendition of it, and I think it gave it more weight to show, okay, like, the world's not going to accept him. And then even further that whenever he goes and finds Elizabeth again to, re-emphasize that. I just really liked the steps that the creature's story took, in my opinion, a lot in this version.
I only have 2 notes to what you said, and they're just 2 notes about the farm. One, for 2 shots, and I know this because this is how my brain works, and for any Degrassi fans out there, the adult woman in those scenes is played by Paige from Degrassi. I don't remember the actress's name.
Shout out Paige.
And when the older blind man is teaching him how to read, they read Ozymandias, written by Percy Shelley, Mary Shelley's husband, which is a very fun little fun Easter egg.
That's awesome.
But
yeah, I didn't even catch that.
That has ramifications for the universe. Does Mary Shelley exist in this universe?
Yes, the FCU.
Don't think about it. And then let me see a few other things I have. There isn't a lot. Oh, this is mainly what I want to talk about from here on out, is the body horror element.
Yeah.
Obviously, Guillermo del Toro is skilled at this, but what I found very interesting was, normally with Frankenstein, he has an arm from somebody. Or in adaptations, he has like an arm from somebody. He has a leg from somebody. We get this very intense scene juxtaposed with melancholy music of him taking like individual little grafts of skin.
Yeah.
And going into heavy detail. And again, this melancholy music playing during these intense scenes. I think body horror it's in most Frankenstein adaptations, but I think with this it's turned up to 11, which is Guillermo del Toro's specialty. I think he comes second only behind Cronenberg when it comes to body horror, but If anyone in the comments thinks that's a stupid statement, please feel free to let me know.
I really liked it too. Yeah, I thought that was cool, and I think I actually thought it was very numbing, I guess, in the sense of like for you to see those characters like go through that much detail. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is horrifying that he's like going and doing all of this stuff, and then to see the patchwork, I guess you could call it the patchwork of the skin and like the different suture marks that were on the creature. I thought that was really cool. I think unless Wicked comes out, and I know the Wicked phenomena is probably going to help them out a lot, but I wouldn't be surprised if this wins best costume design.
Yeah, I think, or best makeup.
Yeah, best makeup, best costume design, because I feel like both of those elements play really, really well in this entire story.
I'm not claiming this as my own. I saw this. This was probably the first comment under the official discussion for the movie, but I'm going to quote it here. Jacob Elordi, I was not familiar with your game. He was fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's a good time to talk about the actors. Yeah, he was
yes,
amazing.
I don't take this with a grain of salt, but I work in film, and I have PAs work for me, and One told me that he was tasked with driving Jacob Elordi around all day, just from location to location, and he said he's the nicest dude. So take that with a grain of salt, but apparently, very nice man. Very nice, hot, 6'5" man.
Yeah. I mean, he's a behemoth in this movie. Like, he's stacked. And so I can't even imagine like walking around with that makeup on all day, or, it was super impressive. And I think the way that he was able to do so much by saying so little, I think that goes back and is like one of those damning factors for some other renditions of this. Definitely the De Niro one, where it's like the De Niro version, until the creature starts speaking, you don't really get it. In this one, you get it right away. Like, it's just so immediate, and like I said, the gentleness at the beginning of like, oh, this creature is just like a baby, like it's literally just a baby that's trying to figure out what this world is all about, to then, in those first opening scenes / the end of the movie where he's back in the Arctic Circle with all those guys on the ship, and he's like just ripping through them. I think that it was so cool. And then even the words that he used, like, obviously there was a lot that was pulled from the original novel there and like maybe adapted just a little bit, but the way that he spoke was very concise and every word had meaning. There wasn't any filler, which was really nice. And impactful would be the best way to say it. And then also the vocal like utterings that he did at the beginning, where he was like, like, I really thought that added an element to the innocence of the character at the beginning. I thought it was really cool to see that.
Obviously, I think Bill Skarsgård went a little harder for Nosferatu, but it did feel like Jacob Elordi dropped a baritone, I believe it is, to make his voice a little bit deeper. I think I have been seeing some complaints about his appearance, and I don't see that. I think it's people who are complaining about his appearance, I think, aren't very familiar with the original novel, and I'm not trying to gatekeep. I'm not trying to gatekeep Frankenstein. That'd be crazy. But I think his appearance in this is fantastic. You can see each like individual piecing together of like the skin grafts, and he kind of looked like the I don't remember their official name, the big ass bald dudes from Prometheus. Oddly enough, from the film Prometheus, Frankenstein looks similar. I complained about this in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, but I did like the progression in this of his language, his vocals. Like, he was slowly piecing together the language, which was very fun to watch. I think I'm glad that he's not content with being typecast as, like a teen heartthrob. I've seen all of Euphoria, and he's the biggest piece of shit, and I didn't know he had this kind of range. I thought he was just pigeonholed to that kind of character, but he did fantastic in this. I'm very excited to see him in more stuff, which is something I've never thought before.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of reminds me of sort of, this is a very quick comparison that may or may not land, but sort of reminds me of more of like a Robert Pattinson-esque archetype, where it's like, hey, I did the big thing, the pop thing, even though Euphoria is kind of like a artsy fartsy show. Like he just has taken a couple roles, and I'm like, okay, like there's definitely something there. So I'm excited to see what his next choice is, because he definitely has the ability to go there, and it was fun to watch.
I think his kissing booth movies are his Twilights. They're his Twilights.
Right, exactly. Well, aside from him, I think the next person to probably talk about is Oscar Isaac. I thought he did a really solid job. I think my only, I don't know if it's complaint, is... I don't think it's his fault. I think he acts his ass off. I think he carries the movie in a really good way. I do think that the switch from like him being a normal person, like I don't think he's ever a normal person in this movie. He basically is born, and then there's the child sequences, which I'll leave him out of because he's not in those. But then when he becomes a man, he's just arrogant the entire time. And then the shift at the end to be like ready and accepting of death felt a little weird, but I think like his acting performance was really good. I think he at some points maybe peaked a little bit on the anger side of things, where I was like, this didn't feel the most authentic to how you would probably feel in that moment. But all in all, like, I think he did an amazing job. I think there were probably just some writing things that maybe could have been toned a little bit down to make it make a little more practical sense. But generally speaking, I thought he did a good job.
I think his performance in this is, and I think it's a bit heightened from the novel, but he was giving, like, when he confronts Elizabeth about not loving him, he gives big incel vibes.
Yeah, like I was getting incel. I've never gotten it before. Please, yeah, like crazy incel from science class who's really into chemistry and like biology. Like, yeah, and then like him going and being like, look at what I can do in the opening scene where he's in the science thing and he's like, all of you are so stupid and beneath me. And then it's like, he's just kind of an asshole, like an arrogant asshole the whole time. But I just felt like the anger scenes when he switches up on the creature were like, there were some moments where I was like, okay, we're yelling really loud at this creature. And maybe it just might be sentiment towards the creature, but he was yelling like a little hard for like the moment. I was like, okay, like you also were peeling skin off of this monster and putting it together, and you're afraid of him touching you with some blood. Like, come on.
Yeah, and him being like, I'm an asshole because you won't love me back. Also, I killed your uncle. Henry's final words to him, and I believe, I need to look it up. I'm pretty sure the brother's name is Henry in this, but we both have siblings. Imagine your sibling's last words to you being, I always knew you were evil. Crazy. Crazy. Hell yeah.
That I think that actor, I would say if there was another, we'll talk about Mia Goth because I think we could probably go on for that one for a minute, but I think his performance, I'm sorry I don't know the actor's name. Do you?
I'm actually pulling it up right now. Okay, I've been calling him Henry the whole time. It's William. Sorry.
Yep.
And his name is, and I don't want to mess this up, Felix Kammerer.
Okay.
Kammerer. Kammerer.
We're obviously a very well-researched organization here.
Okay, he's in 3 movies other than this.
We're really
I'm not. And 2 TV shows.
I thought that his performance probably got stunted pretty hard. He was like a big-time yes man in this movie. And then in the end, like, all of a sudden, he's like, oh, you're an asshole, Victor, kind of thing.
Yeah, that was a bit of a turn. I don't think he had any time to develop, which was... I mean, you don't always have to develop every single character, also, but I agree that kind of... There weren't many seeds sown about him resenting Victor.
Also, let's not neglect the fact that at one point, Christoph Waltz, his, like, intro to William is like, oh, he's a very successful financier. And I was like, wait a second, then why is he like playing bitch boy to Victor Frankenstein? Like, I was like very confused. And then like Victor's off gallivanting with Mia Goth's character. And he's just like there like helping these brutes put up this like contraption whiz bang thing in the tower. And I'm like, what what has he got on you? Why are you helping? Like, I guess brotherhood, but it sounds like they're not that close. If like it took Christoph Waltz's character to come in and be like, your brother has sent for you, and I'm like, well, oh yeah, and then he's successful, and he also wants to be your little bitch boy lapdog.
Yes, it was very odd. He did feel like a non-character. Do we want to hop into Christoph Waltz's character and then Mia Goth? Because I'm going to have a fucking lot to say about Mia Goth. I am a big fan. But for Christoph Waltz, I want to start his with every movie needs a scene where they're having an intense conversation while the other is peeing. And then him telling Victor to flush for him, incredible. Cinema. Absolute cinema.
He plays a really good slow build in this one, I think.
I think his big reveal, which, sorry, I'm just jumping into this, but his big reveal that he wants to be placed inside the monster, I think that is a good twist. I'm happy with that twist. I don't know if there wasn't a lot of hinting towards it. I feel like it cuts from one scene and then the next scene he's dying of syphilis. Also, everyone should get STD checked at least once.
Movember.
Yeah, it won't hurt. But I think that scene, I liked that twist. I do think it kind of came out of nowhere that he wanted to be placed inside the body. And maybe I've only watched it once, and I watched it less than 24 hours ago, so I may have missed something. I never expect a bad performance from Christoph Waltz, and I never see one.
Yeah, I think... I mean, he is the perfect person for a role like that. And then I think the slow burn of him just being this eccentric, kind of like interestingly slotted like relationship-esque character, because it's like, oh yeah, he's the uncle, right? Like, oh, I'm the uncle of Elizabeth. And so for him to just kind of like come out of nowhere and be like, oh yeah, hey, you should come with us kind of thing. I liked it, and I just thought he did a really nice job of making sure that he didn't play his cards over the top before it was time to do so. And I'm not saying he went over the top. He never does that. He always plays the exact measure that I would expect for all of his roles. I mean, so, like, the writing and his take on it seems like very much like the perfect build-up up until the point where he's dead. And then I think his madness and the madness of Victor play off of each other very well. Like, where he's like screaming at Victor, pleading, begging, and then like you can really tell, like, and you could feel, like, you know that moment where you see somebody like asking for something like too many times or like begging for something, you kind of like clench your teeth and like kind of do that weird thing with your neck. You're like shrugging. I felt
cringing.
That. Yeah, there we go. Thank you for helping me get through that. Cringing at the, like, ooh, God, like, he's gross, and he's, like, asking to be put in the monster, and then Victor's like, you're infected, or, like, every organ in your body's infected, and, like, I
wrote it down. I wrote it down because I put every organ in you is polluted is a sick burn.
Yeah.
I wrote that down.
I'm going to start saying that to people.
Every organ in you is polluted. Fantastic.
He did a wonderful job.
That's about all I have to say about Christoph Waltz's character. I think... Okay, maybe I have one more thing to say. I think he was a perfect amalgamation of several characters from the novel, and they all matched him perfectly. Like, I think this was a great original character for the film. I think he condensed quite a bit. Yeah, he
definitely carried a lot of the water of some of those other characters in the novel and other renditions where, you know, you have, like, the assistant S character or the like person who helped Victor figure out, like John Cleese's character in the Mary Shelley version, and like
Tom Hulse.
Yes, Tom Hulse. So he kind of like plays both parts in a weird way, and then William kind of carries the rest of the slack. But if you were looking for somebody to kind of carry the weight of that, he did it with the exact class and skill that you would want in a role like that. So he did a great job.
Yeah, and with that, let's get to Mia Goth.
Let's talk about it.
Mia Goth is my Poochie in this film. Whenever Mia Goth isn't on screen, everyone should be asking, where's Mia Goth? I have made this very clear, and I guess this will be the first time I say it on this channel, but Pearl is one of my favorite movies ever. I think it is a masterpiece, and that is mainly due to Mia Goth's performance. When I initially saw her, I think I saw her in Nymphomaniac, and I thought she was very annoying. But I think she's very much come into her own. I think she's just been knocking it out of the park. Yeah, I think her character was fantastic in this. I wish there was more, obviously. If Mia Goth is in a movie, I want her in more of it. But I think my favorite scenes were her, like, being a mother to the monster. I think her performance is fantastic. I do think she gets quite overshone by Jacob Elordi. I think he is the centerpiece of this film. Him and Oscar Isaac. But after a while, every time Oscar Isaac spoke, I was like, shut up.
Yeah, I was
not because he's a bad actor. Not because he's a bad actor, but because he's so good at playing an annoying piece of shit in this movie.
Yeah, he did a great job. I mean, I hated his guts at the end of the movie, and even when he died, I was like, good.
As someone who's not as big of a Mia Goth fanboy as me, what were your thoughts?
I think this is her best role I've ever seen. What? I've seen Pearl. It was good. It was good. I enjoyed
Pearl
it.
is a masterpiece.
I get it. It was good. I think this is the best role I've seen from her from like the depth perspective, because I think for me, in some of her other roles, like her face to me just looks very innocent, and I thought in this movie she played that perfectly. Like, I think she was just so caring and nurturing, and like, but also didn't take any shit. It was a very powerful performance, like where, you know, if a man said something, even in the initial introduction to her Elizabeth character, which is the one I'll spend the most time on because the mom's only in it for a couple minutes, but she did a great job for that part. I didn't even recognize her until I went back and looked again, because I was like, I think that might have been her twice. But she did a wonderful job on just like sitting there in front of another great actor, Oscar Isaac, and basically telling him, you're a little tiny boy and all men are fucking shit, and go smoke a cigar and have some brandy kind of thing. And so I think she just did a really good job, and then also kind of softening a little bit to his advances, because they both sort of had similar worldviews, or at least had similar interests, it sounds like. And I think that her ability to convey so much with the creature without having to say stuff also just goes to a testament to her. She didn't have to say a lot in that interaction for you to get the emotions that she was feeling. And so it was really, really good. And then also the ending scene the scene where the monster or creature is there for the wedding night, and like the happiness that she was able to convey with just her eyes to see that he was there with her, and the care that she was excited to like be with him and all of that stuff. I just really liked that it wasn't just dialogue, and the depth that she got to put in with her emotions and actions was just really good. And I think obviously Jacob Elordi had to do more of that sort of heavy lifting, given that his character for part of the movie was nonverbal, but I think she did a great job as well. And that's a really hard thing to do, especially when it's set in a old-timey setting where everyone monologues in soapboxes for a while. The part of her performance that was the most memorable to me is like literally just that interaction with her and the creature, and it was very, very cool to watch. So she did an excellent job.
Yes, she's very good at conveying. Her face is very emotive. I think I just want to get my one con out, is that another issue I have with movies is it could be a little brighter. There are times where I was squinting. A lot of movies are very dark now, and I do not like that. Did you ever watch Red 1?
Yes.
You can't see shit in that movie.
Yeah.
You could see shit in this movie.
My con is that I think I would have loved to have been able to see this in the theater. I think that it would have been probably a bit of a better experience, but I was excited that I got to enjoy it in like solitude, if that makes sense. Like sometimes there's those movies that you really want to take in and not have like, you know, God love Alamo Drafthouse, but sometimes when you have like somebody crawling underneath you to go give somebody a cheeseburger or a Caesar salad, like that kind of can take away.
A rotisserie chicken.
Yeah, a full rotisserie chicken. That can sometimes take away from the movie, but I thought that it was really good to enjoy by myself, but I would have probably liked to see what it would have looked like on the big screen. I think also in addition to that, there were a few plot points that I didn't love with regards to Victor's story, and I think that's probably why I was a little more harsh on Oscar Isaac's performance with just like the change of his emotion. But I'm not going to fault the movie for that. I think that it's probably just like trying to fit all of these different elements into it was probably a little tough. But I think that for me, like his switch up from when he was loving the creature after it was first created to then afterwards, and then also the switch up after like he's running away from the creature and he's on the boat dying, he just is like, oh yeah, I've let it take me kind of thing was a little quick. I think that storyline to me was probably the weakest thread of like the way that he switched his ideas on some of that stuff. It's like, okay, you went from like, this is all you wanted. I understand. Hey, didn't live up to what you expected. Then you're running away because you've, killed Elizabeth and you're an asshole and this monster's chasing you. Then the monster catches you. You get on this boat with all these guys. What was the motivation to then just be like, oh yeah, it's over. Like, I just want to die.
Yeah.
And like, maybe you are, that part to me, I just maybe could have used a little bit more, but I think that was the only real con for me. And I think overall, I wrote this in my Letterboxd review. Like, I thought this is everything that every Frankenstein movie that is based on the novel wants to be. This is everything.
Yeah.
And so I was just really, really impressed with it as a whole. But those are my only two small things.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like I said at the beginning, I knew I was going to love this. So kind of went in with a preconceived notion. This is for you and this is for the audience. You should check out all of Guillermo del Toro's filmography.
I will. I'm going to watch Pan's Labyrinth tonight. I already have it on the schedule. It's going to be great, I'm sure.
Well, good. You can marathon. I would watch Pan's Labyrinth, Kronos, Hellboy 1 and 2, and you know what? Just to keep it spicy, throw in Blade 2.
Okay, yeah.
Not Blade 1, just Blade 2.
Yeah, Blade 2. Okay, got it. I need to see Wesley Snipes in vampire form.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to hop off so I can go watch the Dolphins lose. How are the Browns doing this year? Yes, this is the part of the analytics where everything is going to drop off. The second I brought up the Dolphins, everyone's leaving.
Yeah.
And I am leaving this in.
Yeah, the Browns are horrible. I don't want to talk about it. My life is misery and pain. But you know who else's life was misery and pain? The creature in the Frankenstein movie. I hope that they're out there doing well. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Appreciate everybody's comments. Thank you for interacting with it. And we'll look forward to sharing some new stuff with you very soon.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.